Hi, this is Katie Nip, and you're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with D.Cal.
What up, testing. 1 2 1 2. Are we on? Looks like we are. Hey, this is D.Cal, host of the E.I.T.H.R podcast. How you guys doing?
Here we go, a show to slowly unfold some views that's in the news that make us uncomfortable. You never heard this podcast is broadcast in contrast, a popular opinion. Stop that, assuming that you knew every view that's brewing. So keep it moving. If you got any sense, then you're welcome to put two so in. Listen in, relax, chill, take a breather, and let D.Cal put y'all onto the ether.
What's up? What's good? Yo, D.Cal here hosting the E.I.T.H.R podcast from the GNS HQ here in Northern California, man. Hope everyone is doing well. Listen, episode number 152. It's crazy, right? Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Basically, that's what it is. So I want to give thanks to all the new people who are tuning into the podcast for the very first time. You know, in Folsom, California, Rancho Cordova, California, Sacramento, the Art and Arcade area. I want to, thank you to Davis, Vacaville. Just appreciate those who are tuning in for the first time. And I hope this thing, continuously to pique your interest. And to all of those who are listening to the podcast one more time, yo, welcome back. So the E.I.T.H.R podcast, that's for the elephant in the room, where we like to have topics and talks of discussions. Have talks and discussions on topics about things that you normally wouldn't be able to have with your peers. Usually because most people tend to be one-sided, short-sighted, nearsighted. We look at things from a multitude of angles. At least we try to look at things from a multitude of different angles. So even if you choose to continue to believe what it is that you choose to believe, we're not necessarily trying to persuade your thinking, to kind of just give you a better understanding of what it is you might be disagreeing with. Okay, that's pretty much it. So just follow us on social media, the E.I.T.H.R, THEEITHR on Instagram, on Twitter, as well as Threads, right? So you can go ahead and do that. We greatly appreciate it. So what we do here is we like to give shout outs, and we do inspiration and motivation every time before we get into the meat of the purpose of the podcast, of the episode each day. So what I want to do is give a shout out to runthestreets.net. Runthestreets.net is one of the other branches that the GNS offers. It's Italian leather shoes. So we have Mile, which is Make It Look Easy, our very first clothing line. And we have the Italian leather shoe line, runthestreets.net. So I got this idea from Master P, which, Percy Miller, for those who know who that is. Mogul, started from Richmond, California, and built an empire on music in the early mid-90s. And then got into the film. Played a little bit of NBA basketball, so on and so forth. But he learned from the attorney of the late Michael Jackson was product will always outlast talent. Doesn't matter how talented you are. If you have something else that you can tangibly offer somebody, that will outlast when your talent is no longer quote unquote able or available, right? So, that's that. So make sure you guys go ahead and check out the website. We have, in the future, heels for the ladies, or for anybody who wears heels. So that's going to be next on the agenda coming this fall of 2024. Inspirational, motivational, man. This is right here. This is going to be the one for a lot of you. You probably need to hear this, and it's be the elephant you wish to see in the room, right? And I mean that in the most genuine, positive, possible way. You want to be the discussion. You want to be the person that people admire, talk about, because you're inspiring them to be something that they didn't think that they could be. Hell, I said in the last episode, man, you're never going to be talked about or criticized or judged by those who are doing better than you. So if you ain't got no haters, you're not working hard enough, you're not grinding hard enough, you're not doing big enough. But you want to be the elephant in the room. You want to be the discussion. And I'm not talking about for attention necessarily as much as I'm talking about admiration or inspiration. So there's a big difference. So we're going to talk about some things, man, that's been weighing on my social media feed for the past few weeks, actually. And I'm going to give my 2 cents about it. And we're going to talk about it right on the other side of this break when we get a word from a sponsor. It's your boy D.K.A.L. from the E.I.T.H.R podcast here at the GNS HQ here in Northern California. And we'll be right back. Run these streets. The world is moving at a fast pace. This brand is designed to put you in first place. Authentic Italian leather shoes with a comfortable feel allows you to not only walk in comfort and style, but with confidence as well. Let the block know who owns it. Let the street know who runs it. RunTheStreets.net. Why are some of y'all single? we're gonna straight get into this gangster shit. Like, why are some of you single? A lot of people are single because of the belief they can't find the right person. Speaking from experience, I understand how that mindset can be. From experience and observation, it's not always that simple. But why are you single? Is it because, men ain't shit? Is it because ain't no good women out there? Usually, that's the default reasons for why a lot of people in today's world right now don't have anybody on their side. Is there some truth to that? Possibly. There might be. But I tend to believe, man, it's deeper than that, right? It's so simple of the reasons why a lot of people can't stay, or currently aren't in healthy relationships and got shit to do with your partner. So we're gonna dive into that just, real briefly. Most of the time, from observation, we don't know what makes ourselves happy. We don't know what we are into. And sometimes the things that we are into, we hide, we don't accept, we refuse to acknowledge some of the things that we're into. Whether that be a certain type of music, or a certain type of film, whether it's a certain type of fashion, whether it's a certain type of entertainment, something. There's something, right? We tend to align ourselves with how society decides what we should be into. That's also connected to what society says we should be attracted to. I mean, you got to think, man, the definition of normal is based on someone else's definition of what normal is. And a lot of it's just a social construct of what everyone tends to think alike is to be the right answer. But that's not always the case. And in my opinion, it shouldn't necessarily be the case. Difference is what makes people attractive. Being different can also lead to an attraction. But if you don't know what you are, you might match up with someone who is faking the funk, someone who's not being authentic with themselves. When they can't be authentic with themselves, how the hell do you expect them to be authentic with you? And sometimes, because of that, there's a clash of heads, right? Everybody knows, like, the first 6 months-ish, right? The first 6 months is the honeymoon phase. It's the honeymoon stage. That's the honeymoon time, where everybody wants to maintain the facade that they had when they first met their particular partner or individual, whomever, right? But after 6 months, that shit starts to fall by the wayside. And the true identity of who you are begins to surface. That's a bad beat. It's a bad beat because someone invested half of a year in getting to know what you presented to them, only for them to then learn, observe, realize that ain't who you are. Now, there might be bits and pieces still within there, but for the most part, that's not who you are. So then relationships change because both people are now no longer who they once were when they first were introduced to each other, right? Somebody pretends to be one thing, and after so much time, the other partner realizing this is not who you are, they either begin to lose interest, they begin to lose attraction, they start to begin to lose that thing that caused them to want to be around you, right? It's huge. If you know who you are internally, you know what you are emotionally, what you are psychologically, if you know what makes you happy, if you know what makes you miserable, if you know what makes you laugh, if you know what makes you angry, if you know these things, then you can avoid most of the red flags that people tend to ignore when they're attracted to somebody. I watched this video and the gentleman made a very good point. Saying, look, man, we're at the point in life where we're too old to we're too old to be with someone because of a like, right? He made the examples like, I like cheeseburgers, right? But they're bad for me. So I can't eat cheeseburgers all the damn time because I know they're not healthy. I like Jordans, but I'm not going to buy a pair of Jordans every time I like a pair of Jordans. Sometimes the like gets a lot of people in trouble because it blinds you from the important shit that you need to observe in the now, in the investment time. And that's very, it can lead to resentment, right? So the next thing I want to talk about when it comes to this, it's going to be for men and it's going to be for women. But I'm going to preference this to talking to the ladies or talking to the more feminine of the two, right? You can switch it for the male or the more masculine, but I'm going to be directing this to the more feminine. Again, for those who are hard of hearing, you can interject with either or in this. And if you still feel attacked, then I damn sure am talking to you. One of the issues why relationships don't work with women in today's world is because they don't know what it is that they want. And it's very, very frustrating because the psyche of a woman, from my experience and my observation, the psyche of a woman is based on how I am feeling. And most times it's how am I feeling right now. And everybody understands those emotions can change. Because those emotions have a lot to do with the environment, it has a lot to do with the voices in her head, it has a lot to do with some of the things that you do, some of the things you do not say. And depending on that can make or break a mood. And these moods change. Right? So, but a lot of times, from my observation and my experience, a lot of women base things not so much on what makes them happy, but they base things on how this status propels her amongst her other women or amongst her peers. Right? Again, guys do this too. Eye candy. Right? Just for the swelling of the ego, per se. But most women do this because it is a certain status to date someone who gives her something that other women can't or don't have. And it's understood in the male community, most women want what they can't have. Right? So, when it comes to relationships, I'm asking you ladies this question. What's the difference between wanting a husband versus being a wife? There's a difference between wanting a husband and being a wife. Right? And just so people can hear it, because the attention span in today's world is so short. Fellas, what's the difference between you wanting a wife versus you being a husband? Right? What's the difference? No, they're not the same. They're completely different perspectives, completely different views of something that is often blended unnecessarily. Here's what I mean. Ladies, wanting a husband means what? From my observation, from what I've seen, what I've heard, what's been discussed, most women want a husband because it means they're going to get taken care of. It means they now can put their feet up and, I don't know, have a husband. They don't really have any other goal other than to have a husband. Because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get married. Some of these women who think like this, they don't do it for the vows. They don't do it for the camaraderie, for the companionship. They don't do it for the partnership. They don't do it for the traditional reasons believed to have a husband. Most of them do it for the pageantry. They do it so they can be taken care of. And as fun as that shit may sound, indirectly, that is a very self-served way of sabotaging a marriage by wanting a husband. That just means you now have a man who is supposed to do all these things because this is what a husband does. It almost puts the pressure and the responsibility and the weight of satisfying on the shoulders of the partner, where you don't have to do what you work. Whereas being a wife, it means you have the qualities that you understand as a good woman, the qualities in which you know a man will respect, a man will yearn for, a man will preserve and cherish. And you have these qualities, and you cannot wait to share these qualities with someone. It's in sales, they call it being a servant of others. You can't wait to do certain things because you understand the satisfaction you get once you see the pleasure on someone's face when they get home and something is prepared, when they hear your voice on the phone and having a rough day, when you are able to say these words of encouragement and you see his posture change because you are the one who spoke these words of encouragement and gave that man confidence, knowing it's me and you against them, and I'm right here with you. To know I got you. It's almost like a point of pride to be a wife, to say, I have what every man wants, and I can't wait to give this to you. Because you've observed how men have responded to a woman who wants to cater to him. And you're like, I love that feeling, because it's commonly reciprocated by a mature man who wants to be a husband, right? But in today's world, seemingly, most women want a husband because they don't want to do shit. Now, flip side of the coin to the fellas. Most of us want a wife, but we don't know how to be a husband. Most of us want a wife because of the traditional wife responsibilities around the house. And just like women who want husbands, you don't know how to carry your own weight. You don't know how to hold your own in that balance. You don't know how to counter that by being a good husband, right? A man who wants to be a good husband wants to be able to have these traits of what a real man is, and a real provider and a protector, and someone who gives guidance, and someone who offers discipline, and someone who can offer counsel. You want to be able to find that woman to say, I can't wait to do this, that, and the third with this person. I know what a good woman is, and I know how much a good woman would cherish a good man. I want to be able to do that. I have had this saying I put on social media, and people have the snarkiest comments about it, and I'm like, y'all not ready for it, because social media is a in some aspects is a place where, you know, people don't mean what they post or say. They just do it for the attention, right? But I've said this quote before years ago, and it's, treat me like the king I deserve. Treat me like the king that I am, and I'll treat you like the goddess you are, or the goddess you deserve to be, right? Treat me like the king that I am. I'll treat you as the goddess you deserve to be. That's husband material, right? But also you have to look at it from this perspective too. Being a wife or being a husband, wanting a wife, wanting a husband, or no, being a wife, being a husband, it comes off as weak to those who don't know what the fuck they want. It comes off as a sign of weakness to those who are not maturely ready to counter that offer. So you have to know yourself, and by knowing who you are, by knowing how you get down, by knowing what makes you tick, it makes it significantly easier for you to isolate the things that you do and the things you do not want. Things that you will, things you will not accept, things you will, things you will not tolerate. The discipline comes from not wavering. There is a fine line, however, between not accepting certain things and understanding compromise, right? It all depends on the person and the relationship and the communication, and how those things align can determine, no, I'm not going to accept this, or, okay, normally I wouldn't accept this kind of thing, but because of circumstances and situations, I'm going to compromise that. I'm going to give a little here, I'm going to take a little from over there, and we're going to balance everything out. Most people don't know that, and it's unfortunate a lot of people tend to want their relationships based on what they see relationships as on social media. I tend to lean more towards, when it comes to relationship advice, who are you getting the advice from? Are you getting relationship advice from someone who's been in a relationship for long term? Are you getting advice from someone who's been in a marriage long term? Are you getting advice from someone who's been cheated on a regular basis? Are you getting advice from someone who cheats on a regular basis? Are you getting advice from someone who self-sabotages relationships on a regular basis? Are you getting your advice from someone who chooses to stay single and play the field? If those alignments don't match with what you're trying to do, you should be very wary on what you accept. I am one to sit back and acknowledge I'm not going to take any relationship advice from my single friends. Why? You don't know what it's like to sacrifice or what it takes to make the person happy, because right now you're at a stage where the happiness is about you, which is cool. Do you. But if I'm in a relationship with someone and we're kind of having our moments where things aren't really aligning, why would I want to listen to my partners who wants to go get out drunk and just go smash? Like, I that's not going to help me with my focus on being a good person to my partner, right? So most people want a husband, most people want a wife, because they want someone to take care of them. They want someone to clean up their messes. But that doesn't mean that that person is ready to not make any messes. They just want somebody there, steady, someone consistent, someone that knows going to be there no matter what. They want a main. They want a number one. They want a wifey. That's it, right? But if you choose to be the wife or you choose to be the husband versus looking out for a wife or looking out for a husband, the priorities of pleasing are completely different, because you're now putting someone else's pleasure before your own. Where the former, you're putting yours before anybody else's. If you're not ready to make that sacrifice, at no point should you really be looking for a commitment relationship. And I will say this, for those of you who are looking for like you want to be single, but at the same time you don't want to be single, but at the same time you're not trying to be tied down, but you don't want to commit to anything. Yo, have a poly relationship, bro. Like, have what I used to call have an open monogamous relationship. Listen, you're the number one, right? When home calls, I come running, right? But when we're not together, your business is your business, my business is my business. Don't bring no babies, don't bring no diseases, don't bring no headaches, don't disrupt any peace. When we are together, it is us. Nobody comes in, nobody comes between, nobody interrupts, nobody does anything. I think a lot of people don't want to have that type of relationship because they know they're no longer the option. Right? People cheat. I've always said people cheat because they're not satisfied. But they also cheat because they know I have this right here and I want to go play over there. If you put it on Front Street and let it be open and known, listen, you are the number one. Okay? You are the priority. But just know, when we're not together, don't worry about me. That doesn't mean I'm doing something. But even if I am, that's none of your business. Some people have the hardest time accepting I'm not the only one, which is interesting because if you're also not their only one, why do you want to just why? It's so much more freedom that way. But if you don't want them to play the field, then why are you dressed in uniform? Like, you shouldn't be playing either, right? So if you know yourself well enough, you understand what it is that you want, right? You understand what it takes to make you happy. Most people don't. They don't want the drama of lies, the drama of bullshit, the drama of drama. They don't want to do all that hassle, which is completely understandable. Again, if you know yourself, you know to put everything on the front. This is what I'm interested in. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm looking for. I am in no rush to get there because I know I'm going to get there eventually. If you want to walk with me, cool. You want to run with me? All right. But I'm not going to rush anything that I don't feel comfortable with getting into. If a person chooses to venture out someplace else, let them. That's why you're taking your time to get to know them. I'm at the point in my life right now where, again, I know what I want. A reason why I am single is because I know what type of woman I need for me to be happy with. And I said this before, in a relationship, I don't need a traditional girlfriend. That's not going to work for me. It can't. Because girlfriends require attention. Girlfriends require isolation. Girlfriends require you to have to stop doing certain things so you can appeal to your boyfriend duties. That's not for me. I understand this about me. Okay? Here's what I need. I need a VP. Shout out to my brother Andy. He's the one who put me up on that years ago. And I didn't process it until I needed to process it years later. I need a VP. I need someone to understand. I'm the president of this company. You're the vice president of this company. In order for this company to get to where we need this company to be, there's going to be days where we're going to have to grind our ass off. But a VP understands quality time is going to be different than quality time with a girlfriend. Because the girlfriend's going to want not work relation time. A VP understands working is also quality time because we're grinding together, right? If we're out putting out flyers for Gina's promotions, we're out grinding together. We got a hotel room because we're out of town. We're driving down to San Diego. We're driving up whatever. We're doing things together. That is our quality time. We're sharing a moment. Some people look at it as, oh God, that's work. Most of the time, because you're doing a job that you really don't like, so any work at all is taboo to you. But a VP understands we're growing something. We're developing something. We're establishing something. This is exciting. We're doing this together. The vision is different. The vision looks at the bigger picture, not just a piece of the puzzle. So for me, I want to be somebody's president. I need someone who wants to be my vice president. Because I also look at it this way. As the president, it's my responsibility to give the VP a company they want to be a part of. So here's how I see it. The way I have it structured, the vice president runs the company. You run the company. As president, I have the final say so, right? But I want a VP who wants to run the company. But I need to provide the VP a company in which she wants to run. She's proud to run. She's happy to be a part of. Same thing with a household, right? The way I look at marriage, I'm the king of the castle, but as the king, I run the castle. But as the queen, she runs the kingdom. Right? Her job is to make sure that this castle we dwell in is to my liking. My job is to make sure the kingdom surrounding her is to her liking. Right? Happy spouse, happy house. Fuck happy wife, happy life shit. I've never liked that for years. I've always despised that because it doesn't give the husband any pleasure, any fun. Where's the benefit for him? It allows one person to be the one to be pleased without necessarily pleasing the other person. So for me, I don't do that whole happy, that ain't it. It's happy spouse, happy house. That's how I see it. So that's just how I get down. Again, man, when it comes down to my situation, I can't be with someone. I can't have a girlfriend. And I know that. So, talking to anybody about this shit, it's like, I don't want someone who doesn't have ambition, right? I don't want someone who doesn't want to get uncomfortable and grow. I don't want to be with someone like that. I need to be with someone who, when they see me slacking, she comes over and reminds me of who I am. When I see her slacking, she needs to know that I'm going to acknowledge that, remind her who she is, and that I'm right there with her. That's what I need. Think of it as if you guys have ever seen the Netflix show House of Cards. Think of Francis and Claire Underwood like that, but without the deceitfulness, without the backstabbing, minus the corruption, right? But you kind of get the gist of it. That's who I need. But because I know me, I know that's what it takes. So I don't care how fine you think you look. Looks fade, right? Looks fade. Quality of character is what outlasts everything. So, and another reason is a lot of people want husbands and they want wives because, again, it makes them look of a certain status to their peers, right? I don't care about how I look to my peers, because I can almost guarantee you my peers are in the same boat. Their boat just looks different than mine, right? So you have to understand what's important to you, looks or value, right? Quality or quantity. And so a lot of issues in relationships, again, being redundant, being repetitive, you don't know what it is that you want. And then you get into a relationship with someone and you realize this ain't it, but you don't want to break up. Why? Because you don't want to have to start all over. I heard this a long time ago, man, and the best time to get out of an investment is the best time to get out of a bad investment is the moment you realize you're in one. Relationships are no different. Because I can tell you right now, breaking up with someone sucks. But you know what's worse? Every day, walking around, not wanting to be with each other, but not letting each other go. Because eventually it's going to get to the point where someone does something, and then things are going to be said. Like, the wrong things are going to be said the wrong way, and you're never going to come back from that. Right? Again, take the time, if you are single, to evaluate yourself, bro. Like, nobody's perfect. And for anybody out there who swears you're perfect, do this exercise. Call up an ex or 4 of them. Ask them, what was one thing about us? What was one thing about me when we were together that bothered you, that irritated you, that made you not want to be with me no more? What was one thing about me that you couldn't stand? What was one thing that I was doing that you tried to get across and I couldn't get it? Like, what was it? For all of you who think you were the perfect person in a relationship, ask those who were in relationships with you and get your ass a rude awakening. Because nobody's going to tell you what's wrong with you than the person who had you and moved on. If you're in good standings with an ex, they're going to give it to you right so you don't take it wrong. And if you're not in good standings with an ex, you probably won't talk to them because it blocked you already. But if you are able to get a hold of them, they're probably going to be extremely harsh because you did something to piss them off. So they're going to be spiteful and petty about it. Try not to be emotional. Try to be rational. Hear the message, not listen to the words. But ask somebody. That's how you improve, right? What was it about me that just didn't work with us? I'm trying to do better. And then evaluate that. Ask yourself, am I still doing that shit? And try to be as conscious as possible whenever you're out and about, right? That's self-development. And you'd be surprised, yo. You'd be surprised when you are aware of your actions, how much you catch yourself doing it. Not only that, you'd be surprised on how much you start seeing things that you're like, oh God, nah, I can't be with someone who does this. Again, there's things that you want, and then there's times of compromise, right? You didn't do this with one person, but you allowed yourself to be compromised and do it with the next person because of other mitigating factors that kind of went along with it. I made exceptions to the rule. But yeah, why are you single? Are you trying to be a husband? Are you trying to be a wife? Or do you want a husband? And do you want a wife? Are you trying to cater or be catered to? I'm just curious. Anyway, that's all I got to say for tonight, y'all. It's your boy D.K.R, the E.I.T.H.R podcast, episode number 152. 153 is coming next, clearly. Anyway, runthesestreets.net. Talk to y'all later, man. We out.
Most t-shirts are simply cool to look at and or look in. Well, so are ours. But ours also aim to send a message. They aim to put a name on obstacles that once stood in your way and aren't there anymore. Struggles that you turned into successes and crushed. You made it look easy. Shop at mile.today. Mile.today. www.mile.today. A GNS collection.